Okay, I'll let Michelle start.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Welcome to Shit That Matters, Tamica. Can you give us a little introduction of you?
Well, I'm Tamica Barnett. I'm the owner of Who Wants Smoke Barbecue and Catering. I'm the president of the school board, and I'm a lieutenant for the Syracuse Fire Department.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Which one do you like the best?
I think I enjoy all of them because there's certain aspects that overlap in terms of like educating children.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy cooking because it's peaceful. Like that's my piece. So I would say Who Wants Smoke.
Okay.
That's for the time when you chill. And,
Yeah,
and
like
you
it's just
unwind.
it's relaxing. It's not really work for me. Everything
Yeah.
else is still, although I enjoy it, it's still work.
Do you have a food truck too?
I have a
Or it's a catering business?
Yeah, it's a catering
Okay,
business,
okay.
but I have a smoker that's welded to a trailer, so I pull it places and I can cook on site.
Oh, okay.
Did you just do your last gig for the season last? I think I saw.
There's no season.
Yeah.
Like I grill all year round, but I actually take the month of October off from grilling just to clean all of my equipment and relax and get prepared for the holiday season because I do a ton of cooking for Thanksgiving. So October is my month, especially after the summer. Like the summer has kind of beat me up pretty good. It's a little harder to manage all the things I do in the summers because cooking is so busy. But October is my month where I'm closed.
Yeah.
The month of October.
How many
That's
gigs do you
awesome.
think you do a year?
I don't even know. Like it's a ton. Well, when I originally launched the business, my goal was to do 2 to 3 events a month.
Yeah.
I definitely cook every single weekend, at least 2 events. And periodically, because I'm off some days from the fire department, I cater lunches, brunches. So I think I'm probably up to at least 7, 8 events per month.
Oh wow, 100 a year. Wow.
All year round,
Wow.
yeah. All year round.
That's awesome.
How did you get started in the smoke
Yeah, I was
part?
going to say.
Well, so
How long?
I don't have any brothers, right? So my father, and I'm the youngest. So everything he did, I kind of do.
How
so
many kids?
There's 3. I have 3. It's 3 of us total. So I have 2 siblings, and so when it came to like fishing and like things of that nature and grilling, like I come from a cooking family, so he barbecues, so I would always be with him on the grill, and then that turned into like with some of the volunteer work I do, like at the Boys and Girls Clubs. I ran bitty basketball leagues for like 10 years.
Oh,
We
geez,
could
yeah.
never afford to like have a fancy banquet at a facility, so I would literally just cook all of the food for like 300 people, and then
Yeah.
everybody would eat, and then we would go from there. So I have been cooking for large groups of people for a long time, which I think kind of gave me an advantage because a lot of people can cook, but they can't really cook for a lot of people.
We were
Just
just talking about
People
that.
think
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I make the best chicken and biscuits for my family. I should
Right.
open a fucking restaurant. No, man, you should
No,
not open
you
a
should
restaurant.
not. So my advantage was like I have a hard time cooking the meals for smaller groups of people. Like if you guys wanted something like a lunch today, like I would really struggle. But if you're like, oh, it'll be 300 people, oh, easy. Like
Easy.
you know, so
Yeah.
What's the most you've ever done? What's the most people?
I
in
want
an
to
event?
say 600.
That's a lot of people.
Just for an event. But then there's other things like I've done Taste of Syracuse, some of the larger festivals, where it's by far more people. But just a catering event, 600 was the largest I've ever done.
How many people? Like if you so somebody calls, they want to do a 600 person gig on the second week of November this year. How many people? How much? What's your staff for an event like that? How many people?
It depends on what they're asking for. So I cater on so many different levels. Like if it's just dropping the food off with warmers, I probably it'll be like 5 of us just so that we can get it in and out faster. But if you get into past apps and serving, like for 600 people, you're going to set up at least probably 3 food stations. You don't want just one line. So
Yeah.
it will probably be at least 15. At least 15.
And where do you find these people?
They're my interns. So the summer program that I do where I
That
teach
is so.
kids,
That's where I met you.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I teach the kids how to cook, and I get them where they're getting official certification. So although they're having fun and they're learning how to cook, they're also New York State certified food handlers. They are CPR trained, stop the bleed, first aid. So they have all of these certifications, and I teach them about customer service early. We're down at the Salt City Market, so they already know how to serve people. So then it just comes back as a matter of, do you want to come on as an intern when we have events? And then I just give them stipends. So you got teenagers, they're having fun doing it. And then what it turned into, though, is there's so many kids that ask me to work now. Like, they made it like a popular thing. Like, so many kids. I think I had 175 kids that signed up for my internship where I can only take 20.
Holy cow!
So every
shit.
summer I
Holy
take 20
shit.
kids, but what I do is I bring a bunch of the returners back the following year, and now instead of an intern, they're a team leader. And then after 2 years, now they're a supervisor, and I give them more responsibility. So
That's
then they
awesome.
get into the budgeting and planning out how much the meals are going to cost versus the new interns are, let's learn CPR. So it's levels
Yeah.
to it, and that's how I launched. I got a not-for-profit now.
Oh my gosh, it's another thing. Oh
But
my
it's
gosh.
aligned with everything else I do. So I launched Fire It Up for Youth. which is a workforce development for teenagers aged 13 to 19. So now everything that I've been doing under Who Wants Smoke, working with kids, because that takes up a bulk of what I do, I can do it under this not-for-profit as workforce development. But Fired Up is not just about cooking. I just felt like cooking is a life skill, so it's important for kids to know it, and that's a good introduction to, and interacting with people and having conversations. So the basis is you need to understand how to prepare a meal for yourself, because we're so fast paced now. People aren't sitting down eating dinner. They're not preparing meals. Everything is so much faster, and I think that's why people aren't as healthy as they used to be.
Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
back in the days, like, we buried our grandparents and our grandparents' friends. Now you're burying your kids, like, you're burying your friends. Like, and I'm in my 30s and I'm burying friends. So it's kind of like just getting back to the basics of, let's just prepare our own meals. It's a little bit more healthy. Let's teach our kids. Let's get out of this fast food. Like, once in a while, it's okay, but that shouldn't be every day. It shouldn't be microwave food and fast food every day.
Plus, I think you miss the whole dynamic. I imagine when you grew up, even being 30s, is you sat at the table at the same time and ate.
Say that.
We ate at the same. We don't do that now. Even with my kid, we didn't do it.
That's how you got parents that really don't know their kids. So it ties into my role on a district and parents' roles in their children's lives versus the district roles and what we should provide. It's kind of like, we got to get back to this, it takes a village, family dynamics. But then a lot of times the parents aren't really, their strong suit isn't cooking, because we got a lot of younger parents. So now it's just like, I started offering some parent classes, but now the kids can also teach their parents what they learn and how to cook. And I get a lot of photos sometimes from parents of kids taking the initiative, like, if you go to the store and buy this, I'm going to grill this, or I'll show you how we made this. So now either way, you're still getting the families together. And then you find out what's going on with people. Like, you got the depression, you got the pandemic. Like, kids, I say it all the time, they have adult issues now. Like, when I was a kid, we had kid problems. The kids today have adult issues where they're responsible for whether their younger sibling eats. Like, they're worried about if the lights are going to be on tomorrow. When I was a kid, I didn't worry about that because the adults worried about it. But now, because we have so many adults that treat their kids as if they're friends, and then they're helping them raise younger siblings. Like, we have students that come into the buildings that they're wearing this burden. Or, like, they didn't sleep last night, or they had to get up at 5 because they had to take care of all of this other stuff. And then also giving them money. Like, the kids, they need money. So, and paying them through the Fellows Program, working with the city. Like, they're technically not supposed to get paid to the end, but when you're working with 13 to 19-year-olds, like, sometimes kids can't wait 4 weeks depending on what their home life is like. So I usually give them half in the middle and half in the end. But I understand why the city put certain things in place, because they want the kids to complete the program.
If you give it to them too early, maybe they're
afraid that they won't come back. So what I try to do.
Do you see that?
Not in my program, and I can't really speak for anybody else's, but I make sure that they're vested in the program. I don't design the program. I do the scheduling. So on our first week of meetings is the students telling me exactly what they want to do. Like, I tell them what my goals are. We're going to do financial literacy. We're going to teach you how to cook. We're going to go over customer service. But when it comes down to the details of what you want to cook, like, they have all the input. What's your favorite food and why? Okay, how much do you think it's going to cost? So they're pretty vested. I haven't had any kids drop out of my program, but I don't know about the other one because the city has a lot of them.
How long you been doing it?
I just did my third group, so 3 years. So, and I've been in Who Wants Smoke for 3 years. So every year, the summer program, it breeds new students. And now, like, they got jobs at the fair working at food booths. And I'm like, make sure you put on your application.
Oh, no
that
shit,
you're New York State certified, because my program ended right before the fair. So I want to say, what did I think I had 25 kids, at least 15 of them got jobs at the fair because they were already New York State serve safe. They had CPR. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that you need to start mentioning now, because for your age group, you guys are getting jobs at McDonald's and in dietary, as you should. Like, you're teenagers. Those jobs should be for you. I'm like, but now you have a step above. Like, I know you guys are having fun here, but realize when you apply for these jobs, you can say, I have my New York State Serve Safe certification. Here's my certificate. I'm CPR certified. Now that separates you from another teenager just trying to get this same job. And they worked at the fair. I went out there and checked on them. They did really well.
Oh, good.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. I just thought it was cool. Michael Green introduced me when we went out. I met with him one time at the fair, and we just happened chance we were there. And you should go check this out sometime. We should go. And the kids come up and they cook the food and they wait on you, and she's there like on them about making sure they say, ask you questions.
Out of Salt City Market, right?
Yeah. So what they do is we have these celebrity taste testers. So anybody from the community at any time want to come in and be a celebrity taste tester, I'm training them for like the front end restaurant work, right? Kids that go to culinary art schools, they're taught how to prepare meals, but they're not taught the customer service piece. And I felt like that was more important just because of the way everything goes now, and text messages and bad grammar, like lack of eye contact. So it's just, it was a lot of aspects to, you need to be comfortable correcting your name. You need to project your voice when you speak, look at people when you speaking to them. And then remember, like, be happy.
Yeah.
Like they didn't ruin your day. Like, you
Yeah.
know, so a lot of people go places and they're wearing the weight of the world on their shoulders, and sometimes it reflects in their customer service. Like, I could be having the worst day in the world, but if I'm catering a wedding, like, I am the happiest person.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
need? Like,
Yeah.
I've actually corrected other vendors at weddings for their tone. Because I'm like, I work one wedding and the photographer is just like miserable, and I'm just like, you are working someone's wedding.
Yeah.
Whatever you got going on,
Yeah.
like, you got to separate. Do you need something to drink? I brought her water.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you need to be happy because this is the most special day
Big
for
day.
them.
Yeah.
I'm like, they hired you to be here. Like, you shouldn't. If you didn't want to do it, you shouldn't have took the job.
Yeah.
Michelle doesn't know about that yet because she's not married yet.
Oh,
Because
for the
her
love-
boyfriend hasn't asked her to marry him.
Every
So
podcast
every
he has to
podcast
say.
I found
Yeah.
a way.
Figure out a way to put it in there.
Yeah.
All 25 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think that cooking skills and being in the kitchen is useful, but there's that customer service aspect that you apply to for the whole rest of like a kid's future, like for whatever job that they're going to
Right.
be in. You need to know how to talk to people, you need to know how to listen, and you need to know how to interact appropriately.
I think they missed that with
For-
the whole COVID thing and so much
yeah.
remote stuff. People they're really good at
They're
sending
all on their
somebody
phone
th-
and they
yeah.
have really bad vision now. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like just making sure, put your phones down. Like, you know, and then the biggest thing I stress with them, like, it's okay to be a kid and it's okay to be silly, but you are going to be very successful in life if you can identify the time and the place for everything. Like, I told them, I'm like, you guys could laugh and joke and, you know, say what you want if it's just you guys. Like, if we're cleaning up and it's just us here and we don't have customers here, I'm okay with that. I said, but when we're working, we're working. And I think they appreciate that too, because now they still get the opportunity to be silly and be kids, but then they know when it's time to kind of shut it off, and now you're a professional and this is
Yeah.
what you need to do. And I'm like, and the sooner you can figure out how to act in certain environments, the sooner you're going to be very successful, because it doesn't matter what job you take, like, conduct is going to be big. What you
Yeah.
post on social media is going to be huge, and just realize the impacts that it have on you. So
Have you had? Sounds like you got a lot of kids coming through the program. Do you find yourself? I found myself in roles sometime just as managers of people in restaurants, for whatever reason. Restaurant employees kind of are maybe have some needs. They find a family in the restaurant that they're working in, and maybe they have some. You end up with a special bond with somebody. Maybe they're looking at you as a father figure or an older brother figure because they don't have a lot of stuff going on at home or whatever. Do you find that with you, where some of these kids are looking at you
most
like they're,
definitely. I
know?
I refer to them all as my kids now. They're like, how many kids you got? I'm like, at this point, at least over 80. Like, so I just, two of the students that just graduated from SCSD were my originals. So when I launched Who Want Smoke, I originally reached out to my son and a couple of his friends to like help me, so we kind of grew together to learn it. So I have a core group of 5 kids that started with me, and those kids just graduated. So one goes to UB and the other one goes to SU. But
Oh
I
my
took
God,
them
that's got to
both.
be a coolest
I signed
feeling.
their diplomas. I was able to hand them their diplomas.
Oh my
'cause I'm the
gosh.
president of the school board. But then I also took them on their college visit. So when she had told me that she had never seen UB, but she's going there, I'm like, well, we gotta go. She was like, you'll take me? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we go,
Oh
we
my
drive out
God.
to UB, we go to dinner, and they actually just came home and we had a reunion at my house like 2 days ago, and we did seafood because that was their favorite thing that I kind of took off the menu. So they all come back. It's a group of 5 of them, and they're my supervisors now because they've been in the program for 3 years. But it's the reason why I extended my not-for-profit to 19-year-olds to also help them. And now their phase and fired up would be building their resume, like figuring out what to wear on interviews, figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because now you're in school, you have a major, connecting them with adults that can give them internships. So now it's like, okay, Desire she's doing like, I think criminal justice, but she might want to be a lawyer. So let me connect you with Judge Serial because she's a friend of mine. So
Right.
now it's about taking relationships that I have in the professional settings and connecting my seniors that are now in college with the proper pathways. So it's building networks for them and
I
creating
think you hit
opportunities.
something there. A lot of times, working in food service or working in a restaurant is a great place to go and make money when you're a kid. A lot of people start in a restaurant. They're doing dishes, they're prepping, they're cleaning the floors, they're a prep cook, they're a server or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make that their career,
Right.
but they learn how to be an adult and how to have a job through college, and then they go find their path. Might be out of food, but you've learned something by being in that.
And also, not to
Skill.
say that like working like in a, I'm gonna say like in a fast food restaurant is a shitty job, but you have to have shitty jobs in order to be able
Yeah.
to appreciate. When you got to have the job where you had to break your back and you barely made anything
Yeah.
to appreciate the jobs, because typically, like, to keep it real, the more money you make, like, there's more responsibility, but it's not as backbreaking. Like, you're a little
Yeah.
bit more
Right.
comfortable when you
Right.
get in those higher roles. And when people don't start, in the kitchen at like McDonald's or Burger King, or really had a really shitty job where people might not have been as nice to you, and they get these positions where in higher roles, they usually screw up because they're not mentally prepared to handle that much
Yeah.
flexibility and freedom and the amount of money that they're receiving. So it's one of those things where it's like you got to work really, really hard, and the longer you work and the harder you work, it gets easier. It should get easier
Should get
as you get older.
Yeah.
What's the shittiest job you've ever had?
I worked the Whopper board at Burger King.
The Whopper board?
Yeah.
What's the Whopper
It's
board?
just all you do is make Whoppers. Like I work
my
at Burger
God.
King, and you make Whoppers all day long. Like just
Every day, all
every
day, is just
your-
Whopper.
Your
The
job
Whopper
is making
board.
Whoppers.
That's hilarious. Oh my
Making
gosh.
Whoppers, and it's like, and then I was 16. You standing up for 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
just making, covered in grease. Like you got people complaining what's right and not right, and it's just a mess.
And you're not eating Whoppers when you're done.
No, you're not eating
fucking way.
Whoppers.
Yeah.
And then and then the other piece is then you have adults who have the same job as you, but you're a teenager, and they complain about the finances. And my take was always on it, like those types of jobs are designed for teenagers.
Yeah.
Like it's not designed for somebody that got to pay a rent and a mortgage
Yeah.
and National Grid. It's designed for somebody that might have a cell phone bill and want sneakers. Like it's just not designed. It's not a livable wage, but
Yeah.
it's not really supposed to be. Like it's supposed to be for that demographic of students that want to work while they're in high school and through college.
Earn their own money.
Right.
and- What was your worst job? What's the shittiest job you ever had?
I just a dishwasher.
Dishwasher.
I just so my parents have owned restaurants since me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just always worked in the kitchen. I don't know. I
I picked strawberries.
I didn't have
By,
it. I've
by
just
the
always
piece,
worked
you
for
get
my
paid
parents.
no
Yeah.
hourly wage. Davy Jones. My mom got me the job, and I picked strawberries. And you got done, you had to pick the strawberries out of the plants
Mm-hmm.
and put them in, and you got paid by the quart. It sucked so
Yeah.
bad. But again, you talk about raising somebody. My son, he's an only. We're fortunate. We're probably middle class, so he didn't have some of the strife somebody else might have had. And he went out and was looking for a job. And my wife goes to the Y in Fulton, and we got him a job. And he was a kinesiology major at college, so he thought he's going to go work at the Y and stand at the desk and give towels to fat ladies to make them skinny and guys that
Right.
are working out. And he was the custodian.
Right.
He was the custodian, and he hated it. He hated it. He's like, I don't like this. I'm not going back. Fuck you. You're not going back.
Right.
Yeah, you
You're going
have-
back.
yeah.
I don't have anything against that position. I know friends of mine that made careers out of it and did very well. If that's what you want to do, I endorse you all the way. But if that's not what you want to do, you're going to learn how to do that, and you're going to commit to it. And he hated it, but he did it the whole summer, and he didn't want to do it anymore. So he found something else. But you got to have, like you said, you got to have a shitty job to
They
appreciate the
it.
good
You
job.
got it. Then you get the better job, and you're like, oh man, at least I don't gotta clean these toilets now.
Yeah. At
least
You know,
they ain't on the
this-
Whopper
you
board,
you
yeah.
have a better appreciation for it. But when people don't have those jobs and they get put in these positions, that's where you see a lot of problems happening.
And I think that you're not able to empathize with everybody on your team. So
For how they
like,
feel, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like, so if you are up in a higher position and you've worked your way up, you know what everybody's going through. But if you're just like put in there and you've never done all these jobs, it's really easy to say that you need to scrub that toilet better
Yeah.
if you weren't in that position before.
And to
So-
know that you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Not to respect people, because my thing is like whether you're the janitor or the CEO, I respect you the same.
Yeah.
And like it's a gift and a curse because I work for a paramilitary organization and I don't respect titles, I respect people. So you can see how that could be a little
Yeah.
Yeah.
a little problematic.
Yeah.
But I 100% respect individuals. I will give everybody the same amount of respect unless they're just a shitty person. And it doesn't matter whether you're a shitty person and you're a janitor or you're a shitty person and you're like the CEO.
Yeah.
Like if you're shitty, you're shitty. But if you're a good person, like there's no reason to treat people bad. Like so.
How'd
that's
you
one
get
of my-
started in the fire department? That seems like a strange path. Did somebody in
So-
your family? Usually
No.
that's generational, isn't it?
No,
Or is
it's like I always work for not-for-profit. So once I graduated from St. Bonaventure, I have a degree in business, but 2 of my years, my freshman and sophomore year, I was supposed to be a math teacher. So I have like 60-something credits in education. And I always just wanted to help people. So every job I had was for a not-for-profit, whether it was Boys and Girls Club, Girl Scouts, same type of work, working with kids. But you're always working off of grant money. So now it's kind of just like, I need a job where I can help people and still be financially stable. So then, like, I saw the advertisement for firefighters, and I'm like, well, I played basketball in college. Like, I can
You played at St. Bonnie? Or
Yeah.
Where'd you play in high school?
Henniger.
Henniger?
So I
Oh,
played for Henniger. I played soccer and basketball in high school, and then I played basketball for St. Bonaventure.
I'm
And
a
then
hoop guy. Michelle played hoops, but Ludden,
Okay.
private school girl. Who was your coach?
We're at Henniger.
Yeah, Henniger.
Pam Odom. She's
Oh, no
now the
shit, yeah.
assistant superintendent for the district.
Yeah, no
So it's
shit.
kind of crazy the way the shift turned. I did an event at Dr. Weeks today, and another vice principal played on the basketball team with me at Henniger. So you see people.
Sports are so important, man. I just feel
Teamwork.
kids today,
Yeah.
huge. It teaches
Teamwork.
you so much. Teamwork, respect,
Discipline.
discipline,
Yeah,
how to
definitely.
set a goal and get to it. It's huge.
So with the fire department, though, it just came down to me wanting to help people and be paid. And now I'm in a position where I can do all the stuff that I want to do for kids, and I have more of a network now because now you got the unions and they donate money to stuff, and then it's just like now I teach public education for the fire department, so I just transitioned to that. So now everything that I do is around educating children, whether it's Who Wants Smoke, the school board, or the fire department. So it's kind of like I'm over public education and it's all about kids, so it's a win for me. But it wasn't always this easy. Like, it was complicated because before I was in the firehouses. So now you're going to fires, you're going on calls, and I didn't really have as much time to work with students. But then you get promoted and you got a following, and I do a lot of work in the community. This was a good fit. We didn't have anybody really doing public education for the fire department.
How many firemen are City of Syracuse?
300 and I want to say 27.
How many women?
11.
11.
How many sergeants?
I'm a lieutenant. There's only
Ooh,
we
how
don't
many?
have the cops got sergeants, so we got lieutenants. There's 4. Four of us are lieutenants.
Wow.
So actually, for the women on the job, we're actually doing pretty good. in
4 out of
terms
11.
Yeah, 4 out of
Yeah.
11 are lieutenants. One is a chief. She's a district chief. She's actually retiring next year. And then we have 2 of the other women just got moved to trucks. So they're in a leadership role as well. They're doing the searches on fires. And then I think we got 1 at hazmat. So we're all pretty much doing pretty well.
Ever catch any flack for being women, being African American?
Oh, definitely. Like, the fire department is predominantly a job that was designed for white men. So you do. But the reason why I'm successful in my career is everybody's not a bad person. So it's kind of like I focus on the people that support me, that really want to help me, that want to help me grow. There are assholes. But there's a way that you deal with assholes. So it's kind of like you deal with them accordingly. But then instead of focusing on so much negative stuff, I focus on the people that wanted to help me study. I focus on the guy that taught me how to swing the axe versus the guy that was like, she's never going to be able to swing an axe. So it's kind of like you change your mindset, especially if it's something that you want to do, that you want to be successful in, because it's easy to identify everybody that may be racist or sexist. But it's like, for me, it was more important to identify the people that actually reached out to me, because you do have that stigma where it's like, I don't know who I can trust. But there was people that came to me and was like, here, let's go on the side of the firehouse. He's like, I chop down trees at home. I can show you an easier way that you could breach walls, and this is how you do it. Like, there's a lot of people on the fire department, like white men, that came voluntarily, wanting to show me things. And I absorbed it. So I have friendships. And then there's still the stigma. So there's people that feel how they feel. And especially with me being the first black female lieutenant, there's things. And even when I got promoted, there was some people that had a problem with things, but I focused on the people that reached out and was like, hey, this is probably how you should do this. This is how we do the paperwork. So for me,
How do
it's
you get
more,
to be 31?
I'm 38.
38?
Yeah, man, I'm getting there.
Yeah, 30. I just turned 60. 60 is a big number, man. But how do you, I'm not the same person I was when I was 38.
Right.
I was a different person. I don't think I gave back as much at 38. I definitely didn't stay away from toxicity in my life and stuff at 38. How do you get to be that smart at 38?
Well, because I wasn't always this smart. So, and then the thing, what there's a couple of things that I think really helped me, and I didn't realize it until I think I was interviewed by Diversify CNY, and I'm like, well, I was always raised and I was around men all the time, just because fishing and doing all the stuff with my father and grilling. So then I go to St. Bonaventure. It's a 2% minority rate. So now,
Wow.
not only am I
Wow.
raised as a tomboy, doing boy stuff, fishing, all that, now I go to a school where I'm the only black girl in a freshman class. So now I'm adapting to being the only person at the table. So now you graduate, and I worked in a not-for-profit world. So now I'm empathetic. I know what it's like to see people that didn't have stuff. And now you join the fire department where it's all men and they're all white. So everything that I've done that led me up to this is how you survive. And for me, it's a survival thing because you can put me in any environment and I will not be uncomfortable just because of the things that I've gone through. And I explain that to somebody. I'm like, you could put me in the middle of the hood and I know them. Like, you can
Yeah.
take me to the most fanciest gala and I know what forks to use. Like, I know when I should use slang and I know when I need to speak proper English. I know when I'm talking with children, it's okay to say chillin'. I don't need to talk above them and I don't
Right.
need to talk at them. And I think that that's what guided me into being successful. But I wasn't always mild-mannered because I have a hot temper. I'm an athlete. So I had to learn, like, Pat Driscoll, he graduated from St. Bonaventure and he was on the board, he was the president of the board of Boys and Girls Club when I came back to work for him. And one of the things he said to me was like, Tamica, first of all, go Bonnies, because we first graduated from Bonnas, and that's kind of like our thing.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is in a fight. So now sometimes when I get really worked up, I have to choose, like, is this something that I'm willing to go all the way with, or is this something that I can compromise on? Because the biggest thing on whether things are right and wrong, it comes down to everybody have to compromise a little bit to solve a problem, even when you feel like you're 100% right. So the older I got, like, there's still situations today where I have to take a step back and be like, everything ain't a fight. Like, everything is not a fight, like, you know?
Yeah.
And it's hard because when you are in those environments where you do have a lot of people that are sexist and racist, you're always on defense. But I had to train myself to be like, everything
But sometimes you have to fight.
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
fight.
Yeah.
you
But
know?
just remembering that everything is not a fight. So I always take you always take the emotion out of it and you look at the facts. And it's not subjective anymore. You take the two individuals about it. Now you look at the problem. And that's kind of helped me. I have to literally take a step back a lot, even still to this day. Like, I'm just going to take a step back.
So how did you get into so much? I don't mean to keep asking the question.
No, go ahead.
You must know. Do you know John Tomino from In My Father's Kitchen? So John's a very passionate guy, very giving back kind of guy, and we know how he got to where he got to. He's a big believer in God, and his mission is to give back and all that. Most people that I see that are in a role of a counselor at a drug rehab, or they're giving back here, that something traumatic happened in their life that set them on the path of a non-for-profit type lifestyle or career goal. Did something happen that made you feel like?
I think it's just identifying the cultural differences. And like for me, my biggest thing is mentors matter, right? Because
Did you have somebody yourself?
Yeah, like so. And then I was raised in a Boys and Girls Club. So I grew up in the middle of the hood and literally the Boys and Girls Club was a safe place for kids.
Who was
for
the
me.
person? Was there one person?
Yeah, so we got Melanie Littlejohn, who's also the vice president of National Grid now.
I know Cam, her son.
She was the first black woman that I ever seen in a business suit. And I'm going to tell you how I
shit.
met her because they would make the kids at the Boys and Girls Club, we would hold the doors open for the board members when they came in. And so I was just standing there, 6 years old, holding the door open, and I'm just staring at her because she was like the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my
and
gosh.
honestly, this is the first black woman that I've ever seen wearing a business suit. So not only was I just staring at her, but she completely missed her board meeting because she stood there and she talked to me the entire time.
A 6-year-old kid.
Yeah, I was very young.
Oh
I was
my
very
God.
young, and she's been my mentor ever since. So also when there's issues like that I don't know how to navigate through with being the only person at the table because of the role she's in, a powerful role in her job, she can give me guidance on how to navigate, how to take emotion out of it. Like I got that whole speech from her.
Yeah.
Like you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like over time, instead of just knowing that information is there, applying it, but mentors matter because like my parents were on drugs really bad. So, but they had good jobs though. So like,
Yep.
you know, my father worked a carrier. We still had money. Like I didn't starve. I can't say that I starved
Yeah.
or was evicted and all of that. But the attentiveness and the parent involvement wasn't there. Like outside of, and the older I got, the worse it got. So I saw the progression on how you can go from being functional to being completely
Yeah.
dysfunctional. Because we going from fishing and going out on Fridays, you know, the Red Lobster, that was a Friday thing, to by my junior year in high school, it was full blown, they're high all the time. Like I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And my mom, one day my mother was high and she told me like, I don't care if you don't go to school. I already have my high school diploma. That's your life to live. And then that kind of set with me, although it was something messed up to say, she was right.
Yeah.
Like she lived her life. So me not doing what I'm supposed to do right now is only going to affect me, is pretty much what she was saying. But then there was people at the Boys and Girls Club that cared more about my future than I did. Like Jenny Donahue. I was there when she started On Point for College out of the trunk of her car. I was one of the first groups. We helped her name it. So it's kind of
my
like,
gosh, yeah, you
Jenny,
gotta have that.
I didn't think twice about going to college because in my mind I was going straight to the WNBA. Like
Yeah.
we were going to the Boys and Girls Club to play basketball every day and nothing else. But then she was consistent because the first time it's like, who is this strange white lady popping her trunk here every day?
Yeah.
And then she would come back again and again and again. And after her being consistent, we started sitting down with her. And then she was the one that had me sign up to take my ACT and SATs. She's the one that had me apply to schools, did all my financial aid paperwork. So it's kind of like if it wasn't for that and her mentorship, then I probably wouldn't have even went to college because my parents didn't go to college. So
Right.
it wasn't a thing. Like we were the first generation to go to school. So now when you look back and I look at kids in the community, it's like sometimes people can be very successful if they have access to information. So mentors matter. So I always just wanted to be around and talk to kids and, hey, you can do this. Did you know if you know, you
Yeah.
probably should take this, and I try to give them that guidance.
Because you got it. That's pretty
Because
cool.
I received it, and like if I didn't receive it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just realized like
amazing.
I'm
Lot of
not
times-
supposed. You ask a lot of people, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm just some little black girl from Crowley Street, one of the worst streets in the city. Like you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I skipped class. None of that stuff mattered because it wasn't a priority at home. So
Yeah.
now it's like in talking to kids, I want to talk to them more and realize like, listen. No excuses. I tell them that all the time. Like, no excuses. Like, you can't blame what everything, all these other factors that's going on around you for why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because ultimately, it's only going to fall on you. And I always tell them a story about my mother telling me about I don't have to go to school.
I wish back then my mom was my mom. I love her to death, same as you love your parents. And my mom had a different lifestyle back then. You know, she worked attended bar at a bar and had that kind of thing going on. And I always wanted at the time everybody came to my house and partied because my mom didn't give a shit. But I just wanted my mom to say no sometimes. But she was never there to say no. Do whatever you want, man. You're cool. Have a beer with me. I'm 16. You just wanted maybe my younger brother especially. I think that's why he came into some demons is because there was literally no one there to say no to him, and he really wanted somebody to say no, but there wasn't anybody.
Yeah, there was no discipline, no accountability, no
so-
structure.
So, I'm sorry. I'm hogging
No,
all the
that's
questions.
okay. There's so much. I'm like, I want to know. So the kids, can you tell me a little bit more about like their internship programs or whatever? So it's all summer. They come for the summer with you.
So basically, it's the Fellows program is
the
funded
Fellows?
with the Allen family, the county, and the city.
Okay.
So basically, there was an issue. Maybe I don't know if you guys remember during the pandemic, the kids were fighting in the parking lot and fighting in the malls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Counselor Caldwell was actually
wow,
it was her
okay.
idea through her Let Me Be Great program that like these kids they need something to do, they need money. Like how can we figure out a way to like have them in programs that are non-traditional, like not just going to a youth center, like some structured program, and then also like give them stipends. So they started the Fellows program where these kids participate in this 4-week program, and then based on your age, if you were under the age of between 10 and 13, you got $299. And if you were 14 to 19, you got $599. But they allowed individuals to design their program however they want, but you had to reach certain initiatives, like you had to have some financial literacy, some self-esteem, like things along that nature, but you can teach them whatever skill set you want. So my thing is I wanted to teach cooking. So now we got the Who Want Smoke interns where they come in, I draft a 4-week program, like we did yoga, we did therapy, and we did group therapy, and I was surprised at how much kids opened up. Like
To other kids.
yeah, like if they were all sitting around in a circle with
That
a
would be
therapist, and
intense.
like one girl, like she was like they were really deep, like talking about being raped and like just letting it out.
Jesus, man.
And so with hearing that though too, it's just kind of like these kids need to talk, like they need
Yeah.
this space.
I was gonna say
They
they
need this
probably
space.
didn't have.
Right. So
have it.
I think they incorporated it for the next round of programs that all the kids had to have some sort of therapy. But it's like you give them the opportunity to financial literacy. Now we connecting them. Pathfinder Bank was great. Getting them bank accounts open and understanding, deposit your money. Don't spend more than what you're supposed to spend. I think the school district had kids learning enrichment. If there was teachers that had all different skill sets, whether it was baking or whatever, they went to the district in the summer and got it. There was photography programs. I think all of the youth center had them. And it's just been an ongoing thing. So my internship started with the need to get that specialized age group that aren't really old enough to work anywhere. They don't meet the requirements for CNY Works because you got to be below those income guidelines. Like these kids fall in the crack, but they were pretty much like a lot of them were terrorizing the city. Like a good amount of them are good kids too, but once it started, like we didn't see as many fights in the city parks. We didn't hear as much about kids in the mall doing what they're not supposed to do because every day they're in these programs, and not only are they there, they're learning a skill set. So it kind of really helped. But mine spiraled out of control because I really like kids, so it stuck. Like, it's not just one round of kids and then we're done and new kids. Like, those kids, I'm like, how can they grow? And that's what I'm working on with my not-for-profit. It's like, yeah, I can have this program that runs all year round, but I don't want a kid to participate and then it's just done. Like, the next year,
Yeah,
they need
4
to,
weeks and you don't see them for another year?
yeah, I'm like, they need to be able to constantly expand on it. So now the way I'm designing my not-for-profit is the initiation of the Fired Up starts in the summer with that 4-week program, because that's going to get them all their certifications. And then we meet once a month all year round. And it's not just about cooking. Like, they're going to get that, but I'm also going to ask them, I'm going to schedule it, but they tell me what they want to do in each of those meetings, what career path they want to study. Then you bring a professional in every month that's going to talk to them about the career path they want to choose. And that can include site visits. That's going to include trips. We take one trip out of the country every year. So the group of kids that I have in the summer, I fundraise, and it's completely donations. And this is even, people gave me money before I even had the not-for-profit. Just off the rip here, I know you're taking the kids.
Yeah.
We went to, where did we go last time? We went to like 5 places. We cruised to like, it was one of those carnival cruises, because getting a passport was a barrier, but we went to like 4 different countries. And we
How
had,
many kids?
the first group I took was 12 kids, then we did 16, and now I'm doing 24, so it's growing. So before I had to choose which kids to take from the summer program, and now I'm in a position where everybody that was in my program this past summer will be going on spring break with us to whatever country we decide to go to. And it's no cost to the students. I even like wrote grants to figure out to get all of them their passports, because it'd be cheaper to go directly to the islands than the cruise. But
Yeah.
the passports was a barrier, so now it's like writing this grant to cover all of these passports, because it's a barrier, and like exposure leads to expansion. If the kids can't see it, then they won't be it.
Why
Then
am
you-
I try to think I'm a good person, like when I sit down with John, but I think I'm a good person. I try to give back. I try to do stuff. I'm a piece of shit
No.
compared to you, man. What the hell?
But it all
Oh my
kinda-
God.
it all kinda
I go
comes
golf.
together,
I could
like,
be
you know?
spending my
Yeah.
$40 on golf to help a kid. Or
it all comes together.
Do you ever place or help place the students in like local restaurants, or is that not, we're just teaching them basic life skills and then seeing where they want to go?
So the hard part about placing them is it's not so much. It's not that it's hard, but because I placed them for the fair, so they were out there.
Yeah.
But in terms of working in local restaurants, we got like I have a relaxed culture around teenagers that most I think a lot of adults might, but not as relaxed as me. I also have a teenage son who's an only child, so it's kind of, and we're very close. So when it comes to dealing with teens and talking to teens, one of the biggest things with adults, I'm like, you got to remember what it's, you know what it's like to be a teenager. Yeah. So let's not forget that. So I think I'm very forgiving or lenient with certain things where other adults are like, absolutely not. And I'm like, well, listen, let's just think about it. Like, I can talk them in one direction or another. So getting them to work for other organizations, like, trying to place them. And one lady, I placed one kid in a restaurant, and the owner basically told them that they weren't allowed to take tips because it was ghetto. And so I'm just like, so then they came back to me, like, because if they work for me and they get tips, they keep their tips.
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah,
not taking their tips. Like, as long as you're not asking people for money, and if they're tipping you, like, it's fine. So things that I think is okay, other people think are not. And I think the kids struggle with that because they really put me here. So anytime, anything that I accept and I find okay, if they work in another environment, that's a deal breaker to them. Because Chacha's great and she lets us do this, and I'm like, you gotta remember, like, you're gonna work for other people. So like, it's their rules. It's kind of like we do this thing called house rules. Like, it's house rules. Wherever you go work, like, they may have a different set of rules, but when it comes to serving food and handling food, there's New York State rules, and those things I don't want you to break. Like, if you're working for somebody and they're telling you to pick food up off the floor and serve it, we're absolutely not doing that. I was like, and you gotta understand the difference, like, you know. So we kind of struggle with that a little bit, but I think it's also because we're so close. Like,
how did you end up on the school board? All that other shit's going on.
OMG. So
somebody had to reach out to you and say, somebody got you.
So my biggest thing is, I am not a politician. Like, I literally say whatever I want, and for some reason, people really like that. So when I ran Biddy basketball at the East Fayette Street Boys and Girls Club, I did it for over 10 years.
Boys and girls?
Yeah, it's a co-ed league. Yeah. It's a 6 to 12-year-old. So I have this thing where my son is an only child, but I have access and resources to a lot of stuff. So anything that he tells me he wants to do, in my mind, there's a lot of kids that probably want to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of just getting him in a basketball league or in a basketball program, like, nope, we're going to run a whole basketball league. Because there's a lot of kids that probably want to do this.
How old is he?
He's 15 now, and he actually does a lot of catering orders for me. He knows how to grill. He does it hands down.
What school district?
Nottingham.
Does he
goes
who?
to Nottingham. He plays basketball and football.
Is he JV team or?
Varsity. He's been on varsity since last year.
No, who's the varsity coach at Nottingham? Wasn't it
Cornelius Vines.
Corn? No, yeah,
Yep. He's doing really good in football though too.
Yeah.
So he got some people looking at
who's
him.
the football coach?
Marty Clinton.
I don't know him. I know Corn.
Yeah.
Corn's tough. I played against
Oh
Corn.
yeah, he's tough. But they got like a love-hate relationship.
Who's this? Who's the assistant?
Coleman. Dewan.
Dewan. Yeah. No, Dewan's another nice guy.
Yeah.
I got some of his clothing. He's got his clothing line stuff. I bought
Yep.
some of his stuff. He's a good dude too.
So running bitty basketball, and then of course once my son he goes to H.W. Smith, I want to join the PTO.
Yeah.
So I joined it, but because I'm really good at planning events because I always do it, and like for me, PTO was like, okay, how do we do fun events for kids in my mind? So you join the PTO, and it's just drama.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
I
so,
bet,
I'm just
yeah.
like, and I had to tell him at one meeting, I'm like, honestly, my son's 5. I was like, in my mind, PTOs are like, we're having bake sales, we're
Yeah.
doing fun stuff, we're
Yeah.
doing this. I'm like, I didn't know it was about complaining about teachers, complaining about this, complaining. I'm like, I'm not used to this. And then the next meeting was like, we think you should be the president. I'm like, my son has been in this school for 2 days. So then I was the PTO president. He went to H.W. Smith from kindergarten to 8th grade, and I was the PTO president the entire time. And
Oh
I
my
completely
gosh.
changed the way, like we did so much fun stuff. We regained the trust of the parents because the parents in like the building was at odds. But when I got in that role, because I knew most of the kids from Biddy basketball, they were all from the east side. Like, so I see them outside of the school setting. I see their families there, and I don't see their families at curriculum night. So now I can address it.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're coming to athletics, but how about we get inside the building? If you have issues with things, like you go meet with their teacher, because like, I'm a firm believer, like, I'm just not going to believe one side of anything. Like,
Yeah.
of course your kid's going to come tell you this. That's fine. But instead of lashing out at another adult, how about we just look for understanding? How about we just ask them what happened? Let's start with an ask. Let's start a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So I did that for the entire time. And then when he was in the 8th grade is when people start approaching me about running for school board. And I said no every single time until it came down to, you really got to submit a letter of intent. And President Hudson came to me. She's the one that kind of, you need to submit your letter of intent. And I'm just like, how do you tell her no? Like, you know.
Yeah.
And then you get on a school board and it's the same thing. It's not what I thought it would be. It's insane. Like, you know, it's not even, you're just dealing with just complaints all day, every day. Just
Drama
complaint.
every day, right?
But what my thing was is you got to educate people on what the school board does, because most of the stuff that they call the school board for is not the school board's, that's not what we do. Like, our job is to hire and fire the superintendent, write policies, and cover the budget. But we get calls, my kid bus was late, 15 minutes. I don't like his principal. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you gotta, the majority of time that I'm spent with district stuff is that, and transfers. My kid wanna go to this school. Why didn't they get in the ITC? Why didn't they get in the Syracuse Latin? And I'm like, you always push it back to like the superintendent. Like, this is hiring and firing the superintendent, policies, and budget. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
Plus,
like,
you know a lot of people, so more people you know, more people think, well, I know.
and they have
She's
access
going to
to
take
you.
care of me because I'm her friend. And
But the thing is like, I kind of have this reputation where I take care of everybody, and people know that.
Yeah.
So like, whether we're close or not, if somebody come to me I have like a bleeding heart. Like, they tell me their sad story, I really care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get to the bottom. Let's talk to this person. Let's figure it out. And usually when you hear the other side of the story, because I'm not explosive, like you receive all of this, and then I'm just like, okay. But my thing is, so what happened here? Like, on the other end, and then you kind of get them to understand where the differences were, and then it's fine. So I've been doing that, but I'm also very direct. And sometimes I don't really have a filter. So in being in that position, and I speak on behalf of the board, like when there's parents that don't know me that feel like they can just come and scream at me, it's always time out.
Yeah,
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
And then everybody just kind of like, and I'm just sitting there like, oh man, maybe I wasn't supposed to say that. Like, you know?
But you have to.
But people really, it seems like they really like it. Like, I just won
Yeah.
a primary. I got more votes than anybody on the ballot running for anything. People that was going for
No
county
shit.
ledge, like common council, like I was a top vote getter. I had like, for the primary election, I had like well over 4,000 votes, and everybody else on the ballot had like either just had 3,000 or less than that.
Oh my gosh.
Are you going to go into politics?
So I'm honest. Well, no, not after this. So I'm the president of the school board. It's an elected position, and I'm running for a second term. But even in speaking to people about a second term, I was 100% honest with them. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like being on a school board. I told him why. I told him all the issues that I have with it. And then, like, because I was honest, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is great and I really want to do it again. I said, no, I just feel like I have to do it because there's a need. I was like, and I feel like it would be like if I understand my importance at the table now more than what I did when I first joined the board. And I'm afraid for what it would be like if I wasn't there.
You got to do is mentors matter. You got to find somebody that pushed you. You
Yeah.
got to get that next person.
I'm already working on it, like, you know.
So you're 38. If you could go back in time to 20-year-old, you're in college, you're out having a beer at St. Bonnie with the girls or the guys or whoever, and I came up to you and said, guess what? 28 years from now, you're going to be a lieutenant in the fire department, you're going to be on the school board. 18 years from now, you're going to do it. Would you have believed me?
No, that was actually my speech at graduation last year because that was my 20-year reunion.
Yeah.
And I was the board president, and I graduated from Henniger, class of 2002, so I had to speak at their graduation for 22. And
that's cool.
I'm like, if you would have told me 20 years ago when I was sitting in that seat that I would be the first black female lieutenant, the owner of Who Wants Smoke, the president of the school board, I'm like, I would not have saw this for myself. But life kind of have a
What'd you want to do? What'd you think you'd be doing besides the NBA, WNBA?
I went to college to be a teacher. I was going to be a math teacher. I was going to be a math teacher.
Math major myself. But yeah,
Before that, it was veterinarian, but it's just because I really loved animals.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to be a veterinarian all the way up until I got to college and was like, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And you kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
But you are kinda
I'll
you.
just get a bachelor's degree in business. So I ended up getting a degree in business.
Yeah.
Okay.
You still hoop?
Sometimes, not really though. Like,
No.
not seriously. The fire department has a team where we play in the Boys and Girls Club what is it, Tip Hill Community Center
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
So we have a team that we play in there, and I think the union won't really fund it unless it's like diverse. So
Yeah.
they needed a girl, and I'm like, I mean, I'll play, but I'm not like playing. Like, I got 5 fouls to give, and I'm only shooting threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of take
You
one for the
know
team.
John Grabowski?
Grabber?
Yeah, I played with John.
He
hasn't
played on
in
the
a while.
team. We
Yeah.
actually took some of our classes together, but he played up there a couple times.
We call him dribble John because
he-
dribble
Yeah.
before he shoots.
He's
so.
strong though in the paint.
Yeah,
we saw
he's
him box
strong.
out some big dudes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a strong guy, good guy. No, he's got a buddy John, the taller guy. And I don't remember the other John's name that he plays with us too. That is a fireman as well. One of his buddies.
A lot of dudes named John.
Yeah.
John, Mike, and Pat are the 3 names.
Yeah.
So cool. Oh my God, I just can't believe I got so much more out of this than I thought we were going to get out of it. I knew it would be an interesting, but I didn't know the whole path you took and how you got here. And it's always cool. I think it always goes back to a lot of times with people we've talked to. I play a lot of basketball. I still play basketball. I'm 60. My goal, I won a men's league championship in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s.
Yeah,
I got a pretty stacked team right now in our 40 and over league on Wednesday nights. I want to win one
my
in my
God.
60s. So that's my goal. But basketball or sports, especially when I came from a really rural area. I didn't have a strong father figure back then. My dad was out of the picture at the time. And you look at coaches, and coaches a lot of times are parental figures or mentors or whatever when you're in a rural area or a diverse area. And a lot of stuff comes back to sports. You got your drive from a sports.
And like it's a lifestyle model. Like, we got this culture that we live in where people are calling things cliquey or people only doing business with certain people. For me, I don't think that you're not going to effectively do everything well. So what I like to do is I surround myself. If this is something at a weekend, like, I'm going to identify somebody who this is the best thing that they do. And that's who I'm going to go to for this thing. And it's kind of like, and then I'm also loyal. So it's not that I don't interact or work with other people, but I have a core group of people. Like, the things that I lack, they are very good in.
Yeah.
And it's when people are like, oh, you guys are like a clique. I'm like, well, we're a team.
Team.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's kind of like it starts from being on a team, and okay, this guy, that's the shooter, and so if both of us are wide open, I'm gonna give her the ball, kind of thing. Versus, you know what I mean? And like, that dynamics get lost, and as we become adults, and then you think about it, most of the people that I surround myself with play basketball or some sport because they understand the strengths and the weaknesses. Like, Rashida know, like, I can pretty much get anything done. You need a flyer, you need food. Like, she's the last minute, like, oh, can you make this flyer? Like, she's not making no flyers. Like, you know what I mean? And me with her, like, oh, I gotta find some funding to cover this. She's
That's
gonna
what you're
figure it
pushing.
out. Like, we got these relationships and people call it cliquey. And I'm like, no, we built a very strong team, but we also we also bring people in. Like, there's younger people that want to do, okay, I'm going to connect you with Indaria. She is the marketing GOAT. Like, she worked in the mayor's office. Like, that's my go-to person. There's other people that can do marketing, but I just personally know what she's capable of.
But you're loyal for a reason. We just had Joe Cavertino from CH Insurance, and Joe talks about, hey, you'd like to sell everybody insurance. But insurance is, I have a guy, everybody has a guy or a person that they use because that person's your person. It's not about whether somebody else is cheaper or more money or whatever. It's your go-to because you're loyal. But I don't understand one part of your analogy. If you're open, fucking shoot. When I'm open, I don't pass the ball. I shoot.
It depends on the score.
I'm shooting.
It depends on the score and the time on the clock. If
I'm
this person-
shooting
listen,
whenever I get the opportunity.
You're not a
If
team
she is
player.
identified as a shooter, like she ain't missing, and I'm hit or miss, and we're down by 2, and we're both wide open for a 3, I'm gonna give her the ball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her the ball.
I still think that I want to get a podcast and just be like 5-foot play school rim, and me and Michelle play one-on-one. And
He doesn't think that I was good.
Yeah. She doesn't. Every time I have friends that come on that play basketball. Do you know Carlos Kearney?
Yeah.
Carlos, I play basketball with Carlos. He's another great guy. He does a really cool program. We had him on, and I was.
He does martial arts?
Yeah.
Yes. And Michelle is like, Bud, play basketball? She doesn't believe it. So she still doesn't believe it. But. Cool.
All right.
Yeah. So we always ask a couple of weird questions at the end. So, what's your favorite movie ever and why?
The Last Dragon.
The Last Dragon. Is that the one?
Bruce Leroy.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a great.
The Soul Glow.
Yeah, that's an old movie though, right? The Last Dragon. You ever seen that movie?
I never see any of the movies that anybody says.
She's never even seen
The Christmas movie, right?
The what the hell is it? What's it called, Ryan? It's a
Oh,
Wonderful Life.
Wonderful
She's
Life.
never seen it. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
I've
you.
never seen that.
And why? Why do you like that movie?
I typically like movies where the underdog wins. Like, so he was like the
but
quiet
see-
person, and he kind of like was like bullied, and then as
Yep.
it turns out, like he's like the best fighter in the world.
Oh,
Golden
okay.
Child.
I
So
gotta
it's kinda-
watch that again.
I like the underdogs. Like, he got fired from jobs. He wasn't good enough for anything. And then as it comes out, he got this special thing inside of him that shields him from a lot of people, and it also protects him when people want to hurt him.
See, when I worked at a different job, I interviewed a lot of people and for jobs or whatever, a management role. And when I interviewed people, they always expect the typical questions you ask somebody. But I always ask them that question because I think you learn about a person when you ask them what their favorite movie is and why. Clearly, you like the underdog. You have that underdog feeling.
That whole
and
analogy,
vibe.
and
It
Little
fits
Giants,
perfect.
any kind of movie.
Oh,
where the
that
underdogs
was a good
win.
one. Yeah,
that
that was
is
a good
my
one.
movie.
See, that's pretty cool. And the other one I ask is always, did you ever have a nickname growing up that you maybe somebody gave you that you didn't like, that stuck, or
It's still my nickname. It's on my yard signs for camp. It was on the ballot. Chachi. They called me Chachi.
Chachi from
Like Chachi from Happy Days.
why Chachi?
Because my mother couldn't sleep at night, and Chachi was her favorite character, so she stayed up watching that show all the time. So, like, I have family members that don't even know my real name is Tamica, and members from the community. That's why when I ran for school board, I had to put Chachi on the ballot. It said Tamica Chachi Barnett.
Because they didn't even know
Didn't
your
even
real
know.
name.
Like, so growing up, I can tell whether I knew. So you can tell if somebody knew me from if I was a kid or like from the hood versus professional based on what they called me. It was like if they called me Chachi, like I know them from Crowley. Like, it's deeply rooted. If
Yeah.
they called me Tamica, it was probably once I got to college and forward. But now the lines are completely blurred. Like, I'll go in the office right now and some random dudes for cold to be like, Chach. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
and it was
gosh, that's
and I'm
cool.
just like, I don't know if I'm supposed to know this person from back, because I really don't. I typically, like, I'm terrible about it. Like, I'm friendly to people, but I never remember names. I remember faces.
Yeah.
So like,
too.
but people are very comfortable talking to me, so they'll just walk up like, oh, and Chach. So I just talk to them like I know them, and half the time I have no idea who they are. Like, I do it all the time, and Rashida, she knows now, so she'll just laugh and she'll be like, who is that? And I'm like,
I don't know.
but I'm not gonna
Chachi.
ever treat somebody like that
No,
because
no.
clearly they know me.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna, yeah. But
That's a
what messes
strange
me up when they
nickname.
be like, do you remember where you know me from? And then I just have to be honest, be like, I'm sorry. I just really don't. Like,
I know. I don't remember names ever, but I remember faces, so I always do that. And I'm just like, I remember your face. Like, I know
Right.
that I know you, but I don't know how.
Right.
And I don't know your name.
You interact with so many people, and
People.
I wear so many hats. I'm like, there's no telling. I could have catered for them. I could have went to a house fire there.
Yeah.
I'm like, it could have been a school board meeting.
Yeah.
So that's why typically, like, you text me, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't answer my phone because when people ask you questions, they want answers. So my thing is, I need to know what they want before I just take the call, because then
Yeah.
else I'm gonna be charged with calling them back. But I'm so busy, if I never call them back, then that becomes a reputation.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
doesn't call, so now people will call me like twice, and then they'll text me, and then I'm like, hey, what's up? And then they'll let me know what they need, and then if I don't have the answer, I'm gonna look it up first.
You get time to get
Yeah, I
back
got
to 'em.
time, and
That's
so then when
smart.
I do talk to them, like I can give them either a pathway, a resource, or an answer to what they need, versus being a person like every time we call her, she doesn't have any answers, and she doesn't call me back. So
Michelle
I'm like,
never calls back.
either
No.
emails and text messages
never
is
do.
how I
Yeah.
do, and because I do so many different things, I hate to have somebody repeat what they need.
Yep, you need
So
a paper trail.
with the catering and with everything else, I need
good
you
point.
to send
Paper
it to
trail,
me.
yeah.
You got to send it to me in writing, and I don't care if the writing is an inbox message on Facebook. But what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go back through our messages,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna read everything we spoke about before I call you.
Yeah.
So
And then Michelle always has the last question.
So if people were to take away one thing from hearing you like speak with us, what would you want it to be?
I would want them to understand that I'm always gonna do what's right for kids. Like that's
pretty
my
cool,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm always gonna, even if sometimes they don't agree with decisions I make or they don't understand them, it's because I wholeheartedly believe that I'm giving them the best possible scenario. Like there's never a time where I'm making a decision and I'm like, oh, this is gonna negatively impact kids, because that's 100% a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I got a weird question that that affects you. It probably affects me. It definitely affects me now. With my son's 30, and he was an only, and I do a lot of stuff. Do you think your son, at 15 now, because he's old enough, do you think he realizes how strong a figure you are in the community and what you do? Do you
No.
think he gives a shit?
He's a teenager. He does things. He's not perfect. He gets
More-
in trouble.
does-
He does not even understand.
When other
like-
kids, his friends know more what you do than you know.
Yeah,
than
like
he
I
knows.
like if I take his phone, I see messages from his friends like, "Your mom is going to kill you if she found out you did that."
Yeah.
Like, do you understand? Like,
Yeah.
you know, his principal at Nottingham, like, do you realize that your mom is the president of the school board?
They
And he's
don't-
just like, "This is my mom," and I have to tell him like, AJ, sometimes people do things and say things to you or try to get you to do things because they don't like me or because they want to try to paint me out to be one way or another. I was like, and that's not fair to you that you charged with it, but this is where we are.
Yeah.
Like, so now that he's 15, like these are the conversations that we have. Like, you know, like you got the issue with all of the kids and the edibles, and I had to tell him we had to nip it in the butt. We're not gonna make this your issue. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
you need to be the leader. Like, you have leadership capability. Like, you get a lot of adult conversation because it's just you and I don't keep any secrets from you. So I was like, the only thing that I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to make good decisions on your own.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be always be there to
Yeah.
make decisions or tell you which way you should do. I said, but your freedom is going to be aligned with your decision making. And if I feel like you're not making very good decisions, then you're not going to have very much freedom and flexibility, because I want you to learn to make good decisions so that you can be a successful adult. Like, it's not always about being a follower or doing what you think is popular. I want you to be able to do what you think is right. What you think is right, not what I'm telling you is right.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, and I can't teach you that. That's something that you gotta figure it out. And I want you to figure it out now, because what happens when people don't figure it out while they're young, they end up being arrested or in jail or like uncoachable kids become unemployable adults. Like, if you don't get these lessons now, it's gonna be much harder for you when you're an adult. And because stop them from being spoiled. So that's my main thing. Like, you got kids that I grew up with that are privileged and they end up in these top positions and jobs and never had a shitty one. So when I joined the fire department, their biggest thing is, and how are you going to stop your son from being one of those asshole kids that have everything?
Yeah.
And I'm like, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because I never really thought about it like that, but I literally give him everything he wants, and I'm so connected that he can literally go to school and pop into one of the best jobs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nope, AJ, your role today is you are on dishes, you are
Yeah.
on trash, you are on this. Like, this is the labor part. Like, you got to get this part down.
They got to learn, man. My son's 30, and I saw a Facebook post the other day. It popped up, and it was from 14 years ago, and it said, got to take Zach here, had to do this, had to do this, had to take Zach here. Oh my God, I can't wait till he gets his damn driver's license. He can do his own shit. Like, that was only 14 years ago. Now he's engaged. He's engaged. You're not. He's engaged, and he has his own house, has his good job. He got his master's, but he did a lot of that shit on his own. But he
Yeah.
doesn't respect me like his friends do. Do you think your son knows all that you do? He's kind of young. He's only 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that too, though, because like my chefs, we were talking about this before, people at the restaurant want to like train him how to cook and do all this stuff and bring him up in that. And I'm like, no, he needs to learn how to do the dishes. Like, that's one thing that my dad did and my mom did, is that they made me be in all of the positions so that I knew it. And so I just am like, he's got to do it.
He can't just jump up and be the 8-year-old manager of the brasserie.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
I just don't want my son to have to depend on people for stuff. So like laundry, knowing how to do stuff. Like one of my friends from college, she married a guy that was rich, that had kids before they got married, and they're just not resourceful. Like they don't know how to problem solve. And it'd be like little stuff like my key's not working in the lock, and that's the reason to call dad, but they're like 25. So I'm like, we got to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Like AJ knows how to cook. He can cook himself a meal. He can do his own laundry. I don't have to remind him to take the trash out. Like, you got a schedule. So now as you're growing into an adult, you understand that certain things need to be done and they're important. Like, you know, it's the little things. Like the last cheese used to always say, you want to be successful, first you got to make your bed. And
that's I was just going to say, there's a great book.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where it's just like, you got to have this foundation. Like, no excuses. Like, you can't tell me you're hungry because nobody gave you food. You know how to cook. Like, he 100%, he probably cooks at home more than I do. But I just don't want him to be that kid that's used to, because he still has his ways. Like, he's mad at me now because I wouldn't buy him this $350 hoodie. No. Right? Like, but he already told me one of his paychecks is, because you got to save money. He's like, well, no, this paycheck I'm going to use on my birthday outfit. Okay.
Yeah.
So then he did that, and now you still need a hoodie for your birthday outfit because you bought a $600 pair of sneakers. I'm like, and this is financial. This is financial literacy.
Yeah.
That's the money that you earned, and you're not gonna ever have to use money that you earn for stuff that you need, because I am your mom. Like, you're not gonna have to use, when you get your summer jobs, you're not gonna have to buy your own school clothes, and like, I'm gonna handle all that. You can buy the stuff that you want, but you still need to save money because you don't know what you're gonna want next week.
Right.
And that's
does
where
does he see the other kids? That's the problem I have with my son is he has one of his best friends grew up not like him and didn't have a lot, and they became they're still best friends. They're gonna be the best man at each other's weddings and all that. But Tyler grew up not that same way, and he didn't have the advantages Zach had. And I think he needed to be friends with Tyler to understand that, geez, not everybody gets a $300 pair of sneakers. Not everybody gets home cooked meals made. Not everybody's mom does their laundry and makes their bed and cuts their meat for you and all that shit.
He's a giver, though. Like, he has my heart. So when he was, how old was he? Maybe 11 is when I started leaving him alone on the grills with burgers, because, you know, burgers make the grill catch fire a lot. And after one of the community events, he was like, I kind of like feeding people for free. Like, so he takes his old clothes, he gives his stuff away a lot. So, like, he'll buy those sneakers, and then after a couple of months, he's going to give them to one of his friends, or he'll come home without stuff, and I'm like, where the fuck's your coat? Well, because I knew that you were coming to pick me up, and such had to walk, and it was cold, so I gave him my coat. Like,
that is so cool,
so he's
man.
like, he's a bougie little spoiled kid, but it's not like he's not a mean person.
He's got a good heart.
Like, he knows that he's gonna get whatever he wants, but he also recognizes, like, I know I can give him my coat, and I can just tell my mom, and I'm just gonna get another one. Yeah. Because instead of letting my friend walk home cold.
Yeah.
Or, like, even, like, he was having an issue with his knee last football season. So he went to SOS, MRI. They gave him this high-tech, like, knee brace. And so one of the games, like, where's your brace? Well, so after every game, I give it to this kid on JV because his knee's bothering him, but they don't have insurance, so he couldn't go do this, and this.
See, that would make me feel so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it's kind of like, it makes me want to do more for him, but it's not helping him blowing money and just giving stuff away. Like, we got to find a happy medium because... Like, that was a North Face. Maybe if you would have told me, I could have just went and bought the kid a coat, kind of thing. Like, in his mind, it's just a coat.
Yeah.
It's just a coat, and he has to walk, and I knew you were coming to get me. So
That's cool. Well, thank you so much for
so
talking
much.
to us.
I'm sorry for missing this last week.
No, this is great. This was
insane.
great. Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks.